Hello, hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Today we're going to talk about optimizing our FSX for Amazon NetApp ONTAP, our Amazon FSX for NetApp ONTAP, with well-architected insights. Before we begin, a bit of our agenda. We're going to start with introductions, then we're going to talk about the well-architected concepts. Please post your questions in the Q&A part, and at the end we'll have a dedicated section for Q&A in case some of the questions have not been answered during the session. So, my name is Danny. I am a product enablement specialist here at NetApp. I have been working on building applications on AWS for at least the last decade. I started in a startup company called Nova and then in Ernix, and I've been here at NetApp for the last almost 7 years now. And with that, I would gladly introduce my partner for this session. Once again, I'm here with Pradeep Raul, who's a cloud solution architect here at NetApp. Pradeep, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Thank you, Danny. Hello, everyone. My name is Pradeep Raul. I'm the technical lead for FSX for ONTAP here at NetApp. I've been with NetApp for about 2.5 years, but been a user and kind of admirer of NetApp technology for many years. And prior to joining NetApp, I have worked for companies like Fujitsu, Atos, CGI, Dell on many different workloads, and architected complex solutions both on premises in cloud and in cloud. Now, being a solution architect for many years, I understand the challenges and the importance of a really well-architected solution. So I'm glad to be talking about the AWS Well-Architected Framework today. And with that, Danny, over to you.
Thank you very much. So to start our discussion, why are organizations migrating their workloads to the cloud? Well, first of all, the idea is to increase their speed, accelerate innovation, improve security, and reduce costs. Now, that's all well and good. But how do we do it in a correct way? And with that, I'm going to start with a quick poll to understand what are your opinions on the matter. Leo, if you could please start the poll. Okay. So Leo, give me a sign when we have the results. And the results are in. Thank you very much. So I see that the audience here is quite familiar with the AWS Well-Architected Framework. About a third are very familiar, some are somewhat familiar, and about 40% either just heard of it or never heard of it at all. And when it comes to the pillars that are most critical for our workloads, there's about an interesting divide. You could have chosen more than one option. So we see 50% chose operational excellence. 64% chose security. To be honest, I thought everybody will choose security. Reliability, also a major one, 47%. And last but not least, performance efficiency, 53%. So all in all, I would say that there's a good split. There's an overlap, as we'll see somewhat of an overlap, as we'll see later. And for those who know and for those who don't know, a quick explanation and a reminder, what is exactly the AWS Well-Architected Framework? Pradeep, please take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Danny. So the question is, why do we need a well-architected framework? And what's the significance and what are the risks of not following the well-architected framework? Now, you can think of the AWS Well-Architected Framework as a set of guidelines or best practices, right? It's designed to help cloud architects and application architects build secure, high-performing, resilient, and efficient infrastructure for whatever application they are architecting for. The framework has 6 pillars, as you can see. Danny, have we got the presentation on screen? Yes, it is. So as you can see, the framework has 6 pillars. Each of these pillars have their own design principles and architectural best practices for designing and running workloads in cloud. Now, if you are designing an application from scratch, you can follow the design principles and the best practices and build a well-architected application. Now, while building an application, of course, you will need many components or services, so you could be following the best practices yourself. But what if the components you are using are not so well architected, right? So if I give you a real life example, I want to build an energy efficient house and I could be doing everything right. But what if my doors and windows that I am using are not energy efficient, or the bricks and insulation I'm using are not energy efficient, right? So it's important that the components are energy efficient for my house as well. And I should also have then means and tools to assess if all those components are performing as I expect. So what I'm trying to say here is, while building a well-architected solution, we follow the principles of the framework. So that part is covered. At the same time, we need to make sure the components and the tools we use are well-architected, and we also have the means and the infrastructure to evaluate that architecture, which is important, so that we know that what we have created, or the architecture or the design we have created, is actually well architected and we have not left any gaps, right? So today we will look into one of those components, which is FSx for ONTAP, and how it is a well-architected component as part of your well-architected solution. And then we'll look into Workload Factory as a tool which will, assess your environment and then say what is well-architected, what is not well-architected, and why. We'll mainly look into 3 pillars today, not all 6 pillars, and we'll look into the design principles laid out by AWS for each of those pillars and how FSx for ONTAP meets those design principles, right? So if we go to the first pillar, which is operational excellence, which we'll talk about today, the main guiding principles or the design principles on that says you should be able to perform operations as a code. You should be able to use managed services, or be able to make frequent, small, and reversible changes, or anticipate failures. So with FSx for ONTAP, it meets all those criteria. So for example, if I take operations as a code, you have the ability to use Terraform, CloudFormation, and things, all those tools to manage the environment. So you can run without going to a GUI. You can just use all those tools to do operations as a code. Make frequent, small, and reversible changes. Now, if you have the ability to restore from snapshots with FSx for ONTAP, that means you can be confident that whatever changes you are doing, if something goes wrong, you can always fall back. Implement observability for actionable insights. That's another guiding principle of the framework. FSx for ONTAP can be managed with multiple tools. At the same time, it is integrated with CloudWatch and CloudTrail, so you can look into what's happening within your environment. There's also the ability to scale capacity and performance on the fly. So if, let's say, the demand for your application, or, you have let's say, for example, you have a ticketing application, and when it comes to an event, you will see spike in demand, whereas when the event has completed, you will see that spike goes down and you have, very little usage. So that is the ability to also scale based on capacity, based on requirement, and scale up and down. So it really works with that. So as I was saying, FSx for ONTAP works with all those design principles of operational excellence when it comes to an architected framework. We'll go to reliability next. So the design principles on reliability, if you see, is you should be able to recover automatically from failure, or you should be able to test recovery procedure, should be able to scale horizontally, and manage change in automation. Now with FSx for ONTAP, you have the ability to have multi-AG file system, which means you can protect your data across AG. So if one AG goes down or something goes wrong, then the service automatically failovers to the other AG without any input or without any action on the application side. What that tells us is that if there is a disaster or something goes wrong, then there is, the system can automatically recover from failure. We also have the ability to replicate our data across region within AWS. So you might have, multiple FSx ONTAP instances, and you can move data between different FSx instances in different regions. So that gives you reliability across, different regions. And at the same time, not just, tied or limited to a particular region. With FSx for ONTAP also, you can have ONTAP in various locations, whether it's on premises or in different cloud like Azure or Google Cloud. You can seamlessly move data. So that gives you great reliability. And then last but not least, cost optimization. I think this was, again, another popular, pillar which people always talk about. When it comes to cloud, it is very easy for us to, consume services without realizing that we are racking up, huge monthly bills. Some of the design principles on cost optimization is, implement cloud financial management, adopt a consumption model, or measure overall efficiency, or analyze and attribute expenditure. So FSx for ONTAP is a fully managed solution, which means it's pay-as-you-go. It's consumed from the console. So you can just, log into the console, spin up a file system, specify how much you want to use, and then you just pay how much based on what you use. You can always scale up and down. So if you see, you have the ability to scale up and down based on IOPS and throughputs, and that means you will be paying less if you use less, and if you use more, then you will be paying more. And there are also great efficiency features which comes with it. For example, there is the ability to thin provision, and at the same time, with the efficiency features like deduplication, compression, compaction, you get more for less. So think about a customer bringing 100 terabyte of data to the platform, and maybe the efficiency savings have reduced the footprint by 65 terabyte. So you are only paying 35 terabyte, or paying for 35 terabyte, whereas you are storing 100 terabyte of data. At the same time, there is intelligent tiering options. If you think about tiering now, stats tell us we do not use, or we never use 68% of data we generate. So we only use about 32% of the data we generate. So all those 68% of data is stored and hardly ever accessed. So it's important that we keep all the data, keep the right data in the right tier for optimizing cost, so that we get the best performance out of the data which we need every day, or which we need where we need fast access. At the same time, we store the data which we hardly use, but we probably need them. That's why we're storing them. So we store those data, but store them in really cost-efficient way and in a really very cheap way. So with that, we have covered FSx for ONTAP as a component that can be used for well-architected solution. Now I pass over to Danny to talk about the tools to help you visualize any gaps and address them. Thank you for listening, and Danny, over to you.
Thank you very much. So I want to talk to you about a tool that has been developed here in NetApp called BlueXP Workload Factory. Essentially, it's an automation and optimization service, and the idea is to help companies implement the well-architected practices when it comes to planning, provisioning, and operating their workloads while running on Amazon FSx for NetApp ONTAP. The idea is basically when we have our workloads residing, our storage layer residing on FSx for ONTAP, no matter what the applications are, it could be any number of applications. Basically, we need to first of all plan how we build everything in the cloud. Then we need to provision the needed resources and operate our cloud workload on a daily basis. So also another thing that we need to do to stay well-architected is to stay up to date on well-architected practices. We also need to deploy and manage multiple tools. And if we want to avoid doing repetitive tasks manually, it is advisable to create automation scripts for repetitive tasks with code snippets. And here, BlueXP Workload Factory comes to our aid when it helps us plan, provision, and operate our different applications who are using FSx for ONTAP as the underlying storage layer. Essentially, BlueXP has a few nifty tools that helps us plan, provision, and operate, such as TCO calculators and migration advisors, deployment wizards that then translate to infrastructure as code scripts, different dashboards, and we're going to talk about the well-architected dashboard today, and drift remediation tools, and last but not least, what's best about BlueXP Workload Factory, if you ask me? It's free. So there, cost optimization out of the box already. When it comes to the well-architected dashboard categories, so we try to align with the well-architected framework. It has been the well-architected dashboards for those who know FSx for ONTAP and Workload Factory, if you've heard about it. The well-architected dashboard is relatively new. It currently has 3 of the 6 categories: reliability, operational excellence, and cost optimization, and security and performance are coming next. I hope sustainability is on the roadmap too, to complete the 6 categories. Now, I do believe that we had quite a bit of talk. We explained what's the well-architected framework, a little bit of what is Workload Factory, but now I do believe it's time for a demo to see what it's all about. So give me a minute and I'll switch to my demo environment. Okay, and we are on. So the first thing I do is I go to my BlueXP Workload Factory console. And the first thing to do is to go to the storage part. The storage section is where my FSx for ONTAP file systems are kept and managed. Only at the entrance, as soon as I click go to storage, I get an overall well-architected score on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, I have a breakdown per category. So we see we have an overall score for cost optimization and operational excellence. Now, where do these FSx for ONTAP instances come from? So unlike the AWS console, where you are limited to one account and one region, with the Workload Factory console, you can take a look at several regions at once. And you can also have more than one AWS account, which is, I do believe, quite helpful over there. So after we've checked that, let's take a look at one of our FSx for ONTAP file systems. So the first thing I do, as you noticed, I have 9 FSx for ONTAP file systems currently in this staging account that is used for demos, etc. Essentially, we can see that every row represents a file system, and there's well-architected status column on the right-hand side, listing the number of issues that require our attention. So in order to quickly get to the well-architected dashboard, I'm simply going to double-click the issues number to get to the well-architected dashboard area. So as you can see here, we've got a very poor score of 14. We've got issues in each and every one of the categories. I also have a breakdown here on my right-hand side. And because we are starting with the reliability category, we'll go to our category filter and choose reliability. Let's take a look at the issues that the well-architected dashboard has found. So we have 3 issues, essentially. One, scheduling backups scheduling backups using AWS Backup, meaning taking backups of our volume and saving them somewhere else on our AWS account. Secondly, we have local snapshots, which are NetApp snapshots that can be taken locally on the file system level. Although it's not too intuitive to understand why use local backups for well-architected framework, because the convention is to keep the backups elsewhere. The advantage of local snapshots is that they're very, very light, meaning you only take the increment from the data kept on the file system. So they're very light and they're very quick. So the idea is that for certain disasters, for certain issues that are relatively minor, maybe on the volume level, perhaps where the file system is operational, but there are some volumes that have issues, you can use the local snapshots and recover quickly because time is of the essence always. And the last issue that we have here is remote data replication, that this file system is currently not replicated to a DR FSX for ONTAP file system in a different region, which could be important depending on our use case, especially if it's a production file system. So let's take a look at one of the configuration recommendation. So I open view recommendation. I see that the description is to back up the volumes back up the file system using AWS Backup. And from here, I can not only see the recommendation, but view and fix. So essentially, I get a summary of the action, what exactly I am as the user required to do, to take a number of schedule automatic backups, what is the retention I want to keep for that backup. Also a backup window, because we don't want to take unnecessary operations when we are during business hours. So we can set we can allot a backup window, typically, of course, off business hours. And we also get an understanding as what will happen and some notes. So let's click continue to set the schedule. And now Workload Factory is setting the schedule for us and starting to back up our system to a remote backup using AWS Backup's native service. Let's refresh the analysis, and we can see that this score has risen. And now we're going to continue the demo by looking at operational excellence, our next pillar. Okay, so we're back where we were. We're going to go to the category filter and choose operational excellence. Okay, and here we have a few issues. Let's scroll down to take a look at them. We have, as you can see, there's an overlap between cost optimization and operational excellence. So we are going to focus on the operational excellence issue, which is automatic capacity management. As you know, FSX for ONTAP has an SSD capacity tier, and that SSD capacity tier is limited. Should we reach a situation where the capacity we're about to take up all the SSDs, we need to increase it. And with automatic capacity management, we can activate automatic capacity management, which will increase our capacity. Let's click the recommendation. Basically ensure that the SSD doesn't exceed the threshold, and let's view and fix. So essentially, the action here is to trigger automatic increase. But how does the automatic increase work? So we can set the threshold increase, i.e. when does the automatic increase takes place. And in this case, it's when our SSD capacity reaches 80% capacity, when it is 80% full. Then we increase it with an increment of 10%. This is, of course, only the default setting, and with this pop-up window, we can change that according to our needs. We can increase it or decrease it. Once again, it's up to us, the users, according to our need. And when we're done, we can click Continue and activate automatic capacity management. Let's refresh again. And there we are. The score has risen again. And let's conclude with cost optimization. So let's change the category filter accordingly to cost optimization. There we are. Now we have two issues. Use cold data tiering. We talked about the SSD tier. FSx for ONTAP also has a capacity pool tier, which is significantly cheaper than the SSD tier. And with TCO, we can with the tiering cold data, we can automatically tier data that has not been used to the capacity tier, which can save us quite a bit on costs, and it's also part of operational excellence. And what we're going to show here is storage efficiencies that Pradeep discussed. That means deduplication, compression, compaction, the goodies that come from the ONTAP operating system. Let's take a look at the recommendation. Essentially, we can enable storage efficiencies. And what I want to show you here, we have 62 volumes on this FSx for ONTAP system that do not have storage efficiencies enabled. We can either go one by one and fix that if we don't want storage efficiencies on certain volumes, or we can just go and tick all the volumes and do a bulk fix, all of them together, and apply storage efficiencies together. Let's click continue and refresh. And there we are. We've increased to a score of 57. And that will conclude our demo for today of the well-architected dashboard. Please take in mind it is a brand new feature of Workload Factory. It is going to expand in future releases. We're going to have more categories, and within the more categories where I imagine we're going to find more issues. Once again, a very nice tool to keep in your back pocket if you want to make sure that your FSx for ONTAPs are built in a well-architected form and that you are operating well. Let's jump back to the deck. And Pradeep, if you can give us a quick summary before we continue.
Absolutely. Thank you, Danny. So as you can see that, AWS has these best practices. They publicize well-architected framework quite a lot. There are partners who carry out well-architected reviews. And we have worked with AWS to, again, map all those design principles to FSx for ONTAP. So if you are in your journey and you are architecting solutions and with well-architected framework and you need any guidance, so please always feel free to reach out to us. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you very much. So here are the resources for our presentation. You are more than welcome to try it yourself, see if you like it. You can take a look. Some of the features don't even require you to join your AWS account, such as the TCO calculators and other features. So you can just take a look and build it gradually. And once again, I think now it's time to take a look at the questions. We do have chat responders, so I imagine some of the questions have been answered. Let's take a look. I think that there are no open questions, unless I missed something. Okay. Yes, there's another. I'm getting a page from our producer that we have another poll. Leo, shoot it away. Okay.
Danny, I have a question for you.
Yes. Go ahead.
We see there are a lot of questions, which is really good and very interesting questions.
Yes.
Obviously, you can answer the questions better with some context, and each question is different. Now, if someone wants to know more about certain things, which is not exactly addressed in the Q&A, or they want to know more, how do they reach out to us?
Okay, so to reach out to us, first of all, the easiest way is you can even start by finding us on LinkedIn. I get sometimes questions after the survey, and I'm very happy to answer them. That's one way. Another way is through the console. There's the through the Workload Factory console. There's the intercom. What else? What other ways are, first of all, you're going to get from the email, you're going to get, there was a question here that was asked several times, so I want to answer it. Thank you for reminding me that. The deck and the recording are going to be sent to you. What else? There was a lovely question here that another question that some people asked. There was some mix-up. There was a good question, whether about Workload Factory and BlueXP. So BlueXP is another tool by NetApp. It also can discover FSx for ONTAP systems. So if you work in BlueXP, you can also work with FSx for ONTAP. Also an FT tool, which I would recommend, and I used to work with quite a lot. What is a nice? There's an interesting question to conclude with, and I'm going to take Pradeep's answer because I really liked it. So the question was, where do you see FSx for ONTAP in 5 years for enterprise workloads? So it is already serving multiple enterprise workloads from PLM, databases, HPCs, etc. I think it is a growing. I know from our colleagues in AWS that it is one of the it is a service that is growing quite rapidly, even in AWS terms. We also see customers who are not been with ONTAP before. What else? And it is always growing, like any other products. It's growing, adding more features. For example, from autonomous ransomware protection to using better hardware, etc. And with that, I would like to.
Danny,
Yes.
I'd like to mention that we talked about multiple enterprise workloads. I also want to mention some of our biggest customers. I can't name them because they're not public, but they're storing more than 100 petabyte of data in the platform. So that tells you volume when some of those big organizations putting that amount of time. And there are multiple household names which you can just remember or know just by saying it. Are already public references. I have the link. Danny, how do I put the link in here so that people can see? I'm basically referring to the link on Amazon's public facing customer
So what
storage
you need to
library.
do, I think the chat is only enabled for hosts and panelists. We'll make sure to add it with the make sure to add it with the deck and with the deck and recording. But if you are anxious to see the public references, just write FSX for ONTAP public reference on Google and you'll find it. That's what I do when I look at it. And you see, as Pradeep said, household names, biggest industry players who voted with their feet when it comes to FSX for ONTAP on different verticals and from different industries. And with that, I think it's a good time to say thank you. First of all, thank you, Pradeep, for co-hosting with me. I'd like to also thank our staff, Liat, for putting. I would like to thank Liat and Lior for putting the polls. And I'd also like to thank the chat responders who responded when Pradeep and I were talking. And most importantly, thank you for listening, for asking very engaging questions and made this webinar a lot more interesting. So thank you very, very much. And I hope to see you all in our next webinar. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Thank you, Danny, and thank you, everyone.